life isn't fair. And this is not going to be fair, what I'm about to say. Neyland Stadium could well be the difference in Tennessee being ranked 7 or 8 in the college football playoff as opposed to 9 or 10. As a matter of fact, I would go so far as to say if Tennessee is in that 7 to 10 range, they will undoubtedly be 7 or 8. Why? Because of Neyland Stadium and what you have done as fans to build that as an incredible home venue. Let's think for a second, college football playoff. If the University of Cincinnati is the 7th best team in your mind, and the University of Tennessee is the 9th best team in your mind, are you telling me that you're going to hold a home playoff game first year at the University of Cincinnati Stadium? No way. Tennessee will host a home playoff game within the next 2 years. You can absolutely take that to the bank.
Yes.
Because
and for those who
can I say something real quick too? It could work against them because if they're 4, why not make them 5? Because it's one of
that's
the
very
best
true.
venues.
So you can get them a home game.
I just thought about that.
That's a great point. Neyland was ranked a top 10 venue recently by ESPN, and I got this idea, guys, because Josh Pate interviewed a college, or not interview, but he talked about apparently at Big 12 Media's Days, a college football playoff official was asked about factors going into home games. And the guy said some weird things. He didn't say best team gets to play close to campus. He said, we got to think about hotels. Do teams have practice fields? He said weather specifically. He said a lot of different things. I'm like, so not just the best team. Now you are absolutely, now theoretically, the higher seed plays a de facto home game, but maybe not on campus. Like a lot of times it's like a stadium close to campus. So like if Tennessee's playing Cincinnati, Tennessee would play in Nashville. That's how they're looking at doing this. But it goes the same way. And you were right. You said it out loud and it hit me as you said it. The Tennessees, the Alabamas, the LSUs, the people that'll fill stadiums, the Texases of the world, they may hurt themselves not getting a first round bye. Because the college football playoff is going to take some of that money from home playoff games. It's not like the schools get to keep all of that. And you don't think that they want those schools playing a home game?
Okay, so does Neyland Stadium help or hurt Tennessee in the upcoming college football playoff rankings? Will it help or hurt? Brought to you by Apex Apparel. They do so much more than just shirts, a full-stop shop for all of your promotional needs, unparalleled customer service right down below. You'll get 15% off your first order for your business. And they've got the spirit wear as well. Call 865-919-3001, 865-919-3001, or just call Tyler. It's that easy, 15% off your first order. What's more likely this season, that Neyland Stadium works in Tennessee's favor or against them?
This season, I think in favor. Well, no. I'm taking that back. Against. I don't know why I said that. I think Tennessee has an SEC title caliber team this year.
Okay, I think it works in their favor this year because I don't
think they're in the 7 to 10 range.
Yes,
I think it works in their range.
Right. So you think Neyland's? Well, then they could theoretically be 4. And the college football playoff, don't think for a second they're going to say, this looks nefarious. We maybe shouldn't do this. They're going to do what they want to do. And they're not going to care about the critics because the critics will just create more of a stir around the entire game.
They've been doing this for 35 years. They've been making decisions. Like the great quote from Josh Pate was that, guys, the people that ran the bowl system you all hated are the ones running the college football playoff. Okay, this system is not about fairness. For instance, it's not about, they're like, oh, this is about giving smaller teams a chance to go play for a national title. One, they're not going to really get a chance to play. They're going to get blown out. But no, it's about giving one smaller team a chance to watch them get blown out so they can shut up and stop complaining. And it was about giving more of the big boys a chance. It was about this playoff is about putting more big boys in the postseason, not giving smaller teams a chance. That's why there's that one bone of the small team. But I guarantee you this. Dave, if there's 2 undefeated teams not among the Power 4 conferences, only one of them's getting into the playoff, right? They're not going to take 2 teams from the lower conferences, no matter what.
Agreed. Which I think is why I can't put Tennessee in that top 4 range, because I think Georgia wins the SEC this year. So that's why I have them. I do think they make the playoff. I do think that they're in that 7-8 range right now. And we'll have our predictions coming up a little bit later in the month. Practice, by the way, opens on July 31st. But I firmly believe if there is a school that has overcome expectations, TCU, that's not that long ago. I'm sorry, but a home playoff game at Neyland Stadium is bigger than whatever stadium TCU has.
And with the bye that you talk about, there's another layer to this. One of the reasons they wouldn't want to give Tennessee a bye is offensive teams that are fun to watch are a draw. Don't you want them playing that extra game so they'll draw those ratings?
Yes. I think Tennessee almost by de facto is one of the teams that the college football playoff would like to squeeze another game out of.
Absolutely. Absolutely. They're going to do everything they can. I mean, another example of this, they're not going, but say Deion Sanders does get Colorado to that level that everybody thinks he can get him to. You don't think they're going to want to squeeze another game out of Colorado with Deion Sanders? And they would not give Deion a 4 seed. They would deal with you're right. They're not worried about the nefarious look. Even if Deion and everybody were to complain like, oh, this is an agenda, this is Deion hate, they would love that talk. That would generate more ratings when the game actually is played, wouldn't it?
Certainly think so. What do we think gets Tennessee into the playoffs? 10 wins? 9 wins?
I think 10-2 gets them in. I think 10-2 is a lock.
9-3?
9-3 streak. There's 5 auto bids. So you have to be one of the 7 best at large teams. 9-3 is harder to sell being one of the 7 best. I will say this, and I say this about Tennessee, and I say this about anybody because I hate the expanded playoff, and y'all know how I feel about it. I don't want to hear one 9-3 team complain about not getting in. Even if you deserve to get in, I don't want to hear a damn word out of your mouth. You
and I are totally on the same page there. I thought there was an argument for 3 could be 2, an argument for 5 could be 4, but there's no argument. If you can't get in the top 12, sorry, go cry me a river and go away. Because if you can't get in the top 12, you shouldn't be in. You're not a legitimate contender. No, you're not. You're just going to go there and get blown out by somebody.
Right. And that's what's exactly. And so it's my theory with bubble teams. Do I think sometimes in the NCAA tournament, there's a team that probably deserves to get in over another team? Yes. Do I think you get to gripe? No, because 68 teams get in. There's 35 at large bids. If you have to make the case to be one of the best 35 at large teams in the country, you're not a real contender. So yeah.
Let's take a look at who was truly contenders last year for a second. Obviously, Michigan, Washington, Texas, and Georgia were contenders. I would count
Alabama.
And Alabama, I would count a contender. I'm going through from 1 to on down. I don't think Florida State was a true contender given the injury situation as well. Oregon was tied.
They weren't a true contender before the injury. I'm sorry.
No, I agree. Oregon, true contender, tied for 6th in the final rankings.
I mean, Oregon, yes, I actually think true contender. It stood out that they lost to Washington twice, but again, people don't get this. Just because you lose to a team once or twice doesn't mean that you're not better than that team. How often have you watched an NBA series, Dave, where the better team falls down 2-0 in the series? I mean, it happens. Yeah.
Unfortunately, I've seen the Yankees fall down or get up 3-0 and lose the series.
There you go. Exactly. So it's people don't understand probabilities. I still say Oregon was better than Washington, but after Oregon, Missouri was there, right?
Yeah. So let me finish going down the list. Missouri, true contender at 8.
Missouri would have gotten absolutely obliterated had they played Ohio. Well, I mean, they played Ohio State, but that doesn't count. That game doesn't count. Okay. Ohio State didn't care to be there. If they played full strength Ohio State, they're getting obliterated the same way they couldn't beat Georgia.
You tell me when to stop. Ole Miss, Ohio State.
Ohio State, yes. Ole Miss, no. If Ohio State was in the playoff, they would have had a shot.
But they had the talent. Yeah, okay, fair. But they're going to have to play Michigan again. Michigan again. You don't think they would win, but you think they would have a shot.
I think they'd have a shot. I think Ohio State had more talent. Michigan just had the better overall team.
I agree.
Does that make sense?
No, totally. I completely agree. I thought Michigan was the best team because of that, largely because of the way they played together and played for each other. It was just obvious, and they were well coached as well. Ole Miss, would
And
they have been?
Sharon Moore crying at the post. This is for Jim Harbaugh, like he died or something.
I don't think Ole Miss would have been a factor. I don't
No.
think
Ole Miss would
LSU.
have been a team that upsets a team.
I would say the same for LSU, actually, who
Yeah.
came in at 12. And then if we go on, Penn State, Notre Dame, Oklahoma State, Tennessee came in at 17. None of those schools had a strong argument to be in the college football
No,
playoff.
Penn State would have done exactly what they do. They'd have gotten in, and then they would have gotten blown out by one of the better teams because Penn State is a professional 10-2 lose to Michigan, Ohio State every year team, aren't they? That's what they do.
Yes.
By the way, the same way, this is a weird comparison. Is Lane Kiffin turning Ole Miss into the Penn State of the SEC? What I mean by that is Ole Miss with Lane Kiffin at their best goes 10-2 and then loses to Alabama in whatever powerhouse program they're playing every year. You did an interview with, was it Conor O'Gara, who basically pointed out that, like, have you guys noticed that Lane Kiffin does not ever beat top 10 schools?
That is Penn State. That is James Franklin. That's what he does. Pull up Ole Miss's schedule if you can for me. Because the other thing that James Franklin did at Vanderbilt is he made sure that they had a pretty easy schedule. Some of the teams they beat were not SEC worthy, and they were not even ACC worthy. And I'm not sure they were MAC worthy.
Well, before I get to Ole Miss's schedule, also James Franklin was getting to coach against Will Muschamp and Butch Jones. And so
true. If you put if you put is Lane Kiffin the next James Franklin on our repurposed YouTube video, that I might hear from a certain coach.
Really? You might hear from
it's fine. Coach. Go ahead and do it. Maybe he'll retweet it. Be sure and attach Lane to that. You never know.
Lane Kiffin just likes him young. Penn State likes him underage. Okay, sorry.
Gosh, that's
I'm going to hell. So Ole Miss's schedule is Furman, Middle Tennessee, Wake Forest, Georgia Southern, Kentucky. And this is easy. At South Carolina, they're starting 6-0, Dave. And then they go visit LSU. They're going to start 6-0, though. And everybody's going to be talking about them.
Well, and the non-conference schedule again was, you named some of them.
Furman, MTSU, Wake Forest, and Georgia Southern. How the heck did they get away with that schedule?
I'm telling you, you brought it up, the James Franklin comparison. That's exactly what he did at Vanderbilt. It inflated what people thought about the Commodores. And they thought that the Commodores were bowl relevant. They thought the Commodores might even be championship relevant at some point, that they were on their way up. But we learned that wasn't the case. They were beating a bunch of bad teams.